Hey guys, welcome to my second episode of Badass Books. This week I want to share with you one of my absolute favorite books. This is The Body Keeps the Score, Brain, Mind, and Body in the Healing of Trauma by Dr. Bessel Kolk. So as with any of these books, I do want to caution you, some of them might be triggering. There is a lot of talk of trauma. If you do decide to pick this one up, I do encourage you to do some research and perhaps even have somebody to talk to, a mental health therapist or otherwise, a support system that you can go and talk to and process some of the stuff that comes up in this book. It is also very medically heavy. There is a lot of terminology in here. And so I do encourage you to take your time with this book, read it more than once. We are going to go through it over the next 5 weeks through the course, the 5 parts, because I love this book so much. I couldn't pick one part that stood out more than another. So I'm going to read a little snippet from each part in hopes that you'll find something that maybe inspires you to take the first step or the next step in your healing journey. So the first section of this book is called The Rediscovery of Trauma. And it's the first 3 chapters, and it kind of follows Dr. Kolk's path of how he got to writing the book, right? There are some experiences with clients and some things that he was running into over and over that kind of sparked the, what's this about? So that he could dig deeper into that. The chapter that I want to look at is the 3rd chapter, and it's in the subheading, Shifting to One Side of the Brain. So with these episodes, I simply like to share something that's very profound to me. This might not be the most profound thing to you in this part. It's something that spoke to me and hopefully, like I said, inspires you to take the next step in your healing journey. Read a little bit more, learn a little bit more about like what's going on with you or what's going on with someone that you love. So in Shifting to One Side of the Brain, in the chapter looking into the brain, the neuroscience revolution, they talk about the right and left hemisphere of the brain. So the right hemisphere speaks the language of emotion and intuition, and the left hemisphere of the brain speaks the logical and analytical language. Right? They talk about right brain people are artistic and left brain people are very maybe logical and more math oriented. So one thing they found when they were doing brain scans is that when someone was having a flashback of their trauma, the left side of their brain actually completely shut down. And so what that means is that so when you're sharing an experience that maybe is not traumatic, but it is emotionally evocative, so maybe someone you love died, and you are sharing, and some of that sadness and that grief comes up, and you still recognize that you're here surrounded by loved ones, and that you're not re-experiencing that person dying. You know where you're at, and you understand kind of the context of your emotions. That's because perhaps that wasn't traumatic. If it was a traumatic experience, you might be flooded with emotion. And the left side of your brain, the part that puts things in order for us and that helps us understand time, goes away. And so in some regards, it's almost like we're living it again. So the paragraph that I want to read is the last one in the subheading, Shifting to One Side of the Brain. It's on page 45. When something reminds traumatized people of the past, their right brain reacts as if the traumatic event were happening in the present. But because their left brain is not working very well, they may not be aware that they are re-experiencing and reenacting the past. They are just furious, terrified, enraged, ashamed, or frozen. After the emotional storm passes, they may look for something or somebody to blame for it. They behaved the way they did because you were 10 minutes late, or because you burned the potatoes, or because you never listened to me. Of course, most of us have done this from time to time, but when we cool down, we hopefully can admit our mistake. Trauma interferes with this kind of awareness, and over time, our research demonstrated why. So it's just a little glimpse into kind of like what this book's about. exploring what the heck happens in our bodies and in our brain when we have unprocessed trauma. I definitely encourage you to pick it up if you would like, and I'd love to hear about, if you've read it, I'd love your feedback. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please, please, please share them. You can email me directly at ashley@ashleywoodfordcounseling.com, or you can drop them down below. Thanks.